Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Becoming the Muse. My name is Ebony Monet, and I'm so grateful to be bringing another video to you all today. So if you're new here, welcome. This series is dedicated towards me kind of documenting and having a little bit of a diary as I'm finishing up my PhD program and reflecting on the different things that are happening in my life and how I'm moving through them. So I hope that you're able to learn a little something on my reflections from last month and my goals for this upcoming month. And without further ado, these videos are normally structured such that I start with my goals from the last recording. Then I talk about some things that have happened in the last month. I end the video with my goals for this upcoming month. So let's get started with my goals from last month. So the first one was to start my podcast collaboration with this organization called Science in the News. And so I want to start off by saying that I will never be making a goal that is dependent on someone else's timeline. And the reason why I say that is because I absolutely have not heard anything back from the people that are leading that organization. I'm very aware that one of them was in the process of defending his PhD at the time I first met him a few months ago. I don't know about the other leader for the organization. Regardless, I know that I need to stop doing that. I need to set goals that are based on things that I can control and that I can actually work on, because honestly, this wasn't really helpful. I kind of looked at that goal, was like, oh, well, I did everything I could and we're kind of just in limbo right now and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I guess that's kind of a lesson from last month. Another goal that I set is to set up better systems for me to be successful in the lab. And so one of the systems that I was setting up, I'm just going to describe it very briefly, is basically trying to document all the papers that I'm reading and actually notating that stuff down. I think I need to take it another step such that maybe I have certain weeks or certain days that I read papers and then certain days that I input that information into that document. Because although I've read some papers or I've added some ideas or some thoughts, comments to that, I haven't been consistent with it. And I know that that probably has to do with me not having a good system of reading the papers and then putting the notes and then reading the papers and putting the notes and making that some type of cycle. So I'm still working on that, but I'm hoping that I can find something that works out for me. And the last thing was to work on my rebrand. So what's funny is that I ended up making this series, the rebrand. In the process of me coming up with this and working on this, I started to realize that the rebrand doesn't have to be this big, grandiose change and thing that I do, but it can really just be, okay, let's start just showing up differently. What can I do that starts to align with this new identity of this rebrand? Simultaneously, I'm really excited because I'm working on planning my vision board workshop. If you don't know already, I like to do an annual vision board workshop. And this year I'm making it a series. So there's going to be 3 different workshops that you are definitely welcome to attend. One of them will likely have already passed by the time this video gets posted. However, there will still be 2 more sessions in January of 2026. So if you're looking for some help with goal setting and planning what you want to put on a vision board and actually making a vision board and having accountability time, make sure you hit that link in the description so that you can be on the email list for that. But with that being said, because I mentioned the vision board thing, I actually started implementing the rebrand into that. And it's mainly because as I was working with one of my coaches, we were just talking about what other systems I could use, mailing list systems and stuff like that. And I decided to start using this program. And in using that program, I had to set up a new web domain and all these different things. And I was like, you know what? It looks like this is the time to actually start putting in the rebranded name for all these things. So if you also click on that link, you'll probably start to notice that there's some slightly different naming things going on there. Be patient. The rebrand announcement formally is coming soon. All right, so some achievements or events that happened in this last month. So the biggest one is probably already been on the screen, but I got engaged just over a month ago. So today is December 10th. On November 8th, I got engaged and the ring is on my finger. That's what I mean by you probably already noticed it. But that was just a phenomenal experience. And the ring that I have, I'll put a picture on the screen from the engagement and also of the ring. But the ring is almost identical to the ring that I put on my vision board, which I think really tells me the power of like making a vision board and looking at those goals and seeing them every day. But I'm just so excited to be engaged and in this fiance era. So I'll definitely be keeping y'all updated on how that goes. But that was just a big piece of very, very exciting news that happened in the last month. I've had some really new innovative ideas in the lab, so I'm not going to elaborate on it too much, but I've been having a hard time with this dissection method and feeling like I'm losing a lot of information. And so I've been playing around with some different ideas and trying to do it. But this time around, I finally figured out something that I thought was going to work. And then I went ahead and did my experiment on it. And then I went ahead and tried to image it in a new core. And it worked twice over, which was like crazy because I was like, oh my God, like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But at the same time I did that, like at the end of the day, like I'm a scientist, I'm an inventor. Like I shouldn't be surprised that I was able to come up with something like that and actually make it work. But I think seeing that proof of concept is there, now I'm trying to move on to, okay, now how can I utilize this new platform to try to work out some of these questions that I'm asking for my project? So I'm really excited about that, and I'll keep y'all updated on how that goes as well. Okay, so this next point is actually something that I think I'm going to wait to actually elaborate on exactly what I'm trying to say until the things have passed. And so I'm going to summarize it as saying I'm embracing new environments. And the long and short of it is I've started to notice that one thing that really makes working in the science workforce really, really challenging for me is I feel like I have to show up as a watered down version of myself. And that really grinds my gears, if you want me to be honest. But on top of that, I noticed that this watering down and me like being really interested in personal development and all those things, I'm finding it really, really challenging to apply some of those things that I'm learning in YouTube videos, podcasts, books in this science workplace. And I think it's because there's some sort of mismatch going on there, right? And like I said, I already feel like I can't really show up to this environment as my full self. I feel like I have to show up as a version of myself that the people in the room would deem acceptable. What exactly does that mean? I really just mean that like I'm a very artsy and creative person. I'm loud in a variety of ways. So not just like in the way that I speak, but like I'm very bold. I'm very passionate about the things that I care about, and I will talk about them. And especially when it comes to personal development, and a lot of people in my lab know that. But regardless, I still feel like there's this energy of just having to water myself down. And you know what? Let me just give the story time because I think it'll make it more clear. So last year we had a potluck for our floor and I made my vegan chili. It's a cult classic. Everybody loves it. Okay. And literally I just take a bunch of canned goods, put them together in a crock pot, let them cook, right? Last year I prepared that, and there were numerous people who were like, oh, this is too spicy. This is so much, And I was just like, I didn't really put that much spice in it. Like, it's not that serious, but okay, whatever. Like, I kind of took that personally because I was just like, I'm just like, that's what I mean by like, I have to show up as a watered down version of myself, because in that moment, I was just like, so I'm just like, this was too much for you? Like, me doing what I normally do. And so this year, as I was preparing for the potluck again, I decided to make a different dish. And as I was cooking it, I literally just wasn't doing it to the full capacity that I would. Like in my head, I was just like, why would I put my all into this if it's not even gonna be appreciated? That's kind of the point that I got to. And that's kind of sad. And I hate that. But at the same time, instead of hearing all these comments about, oh, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much, like, I'd rather just hear, oh, this tasted good and call it a day. And I personally, being that I've made that dish multiple times, I didn't really think it was that amazing. I was just like, I mean, it's standard. It tastes edible. Yes. But that's what I mean. I feel like I have to show up as a watered down version of myself, because whenever I show up as my full self, it's too much. It's overwhelming. How am I doing all those things? How am I doing all this? How is she this? How is she that? And it's like, yo, I'm not you. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so the last thing that I want to say here is actually something that I posted a short video about, and I've been reflecting on a lot. So I have been having a very hard time accepting a lot of the change that's happening around me. And what's really interesting about that is this is change that I've worked really hard to see, right? And for example, my new apartment. Around this time last year, I was filling out the application for my artist certificate so that I could even move into this apartment in the first place. This apartment, this opportunity was not on my radar until months after that, but still, like, to really think back on that and see that if I hadn't taken that step in that moment of, yes, I'm an artist, I identify as an artist, here's me filling out this application, mayor's office approved this, got the approval, great, I'm an artist. If I hadn't taken that step, I wouldn't be here. And I think it's really hard for me to see and accept that this environment that I'm in, the changes that I'm seeing are the direct result of me wanting a change, desiring a change, and doing something to make change. It's not because I just showed up. Showing up is a big part of it, but it's more than that. I have to show up with intention, right? So the manifestations and the desires that I see coming to life, all these changes that I literally manifested on my vision board that I'll put on the screen right now, because why not? These are things that I desired and manifested so much. And now that I have them, it's almost like I don't even recognize that I did it, right? I'm just like, oh, that happened. Oh, that's good. No, it happened because I wanted something to change. It happened because I wanted to do something different, right? And so there's actually 2 points, because as I was talking, I realized there's another point. There is this podcast episode with Jay Shetty and Cardi B. I'll put that link in the description too. And in this episode, Cardi B is like reflecting on like how like her latest album release, she like put out a song and there wasn't a lot of like positive feedback on it, right? But in reality, the people who like it are just gonna like the video and scroll. The people who don't are gonna go in the comment section, right? So you end up seeing a lot of that negative feedback. But anyways, back to the story. So in this moment, she's talking about how frustrating that was and how she had prayed so hard and worked so hard to be where she is. And she just felt like, well, if people are responding this negatively, I just need to cancel this press tour. I just need to cancel this. I need to cancel this press thing. I need to cancel. And she says something in that podcast episode that will probably forever stick with me. She said, what do I look like letting the devil win? After all this time, praying, hoping, wishing for this thing, what does God think about me letting the devil win? And you can insert whatever entity you want to for God, but what does that spirit, that feeling, what does that look like? When you work so hard and you pray so hard and you try to get something, and then you finally get it, and you're met with an obstacle, and then you just, I just don't want to do it anymore. That will really stick with me. Because ever since then, whenever something is happening, the first thing my mind says is, well, what would God say? Is that really the way you want to treat yourself? Is that really the way that God would see it? Is that really the way? Are you really going to let the devil win? That's the craziest part. Are you really going to let the devil win after all that? After all that hard work that you've done, are you really going to let the devil win? And this is kind of related to this next point. And this actually came to me after so let me start with this. This idea of seeing the change and recognizing that change as a result of something that I've done is something that I talked about in therapy. And I've been really ruminating on that a lot and even journaling on it, right? And that same day or the next day, I meditate every day. I meditated and I had this overwhelming feeling of, if God doesn't doubt me, then why would I doubt myself? right? To that point, this is what I'll say. I'm currently a graduate student at Harvard. I'm not as skilled. I don't have as many years as research as other people in my lab or other people in my program or yada, 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 or whatever you want to say. But the truth is, if God put me here, that means that he trusted that I would follow through. So if he doesn't doubt me, then why would I sit here and doubt myself? And believe it or not, that actually led me to having some of the most successful mouth surgeries this week, somehow, despite their circumstances, because they were not ideal circumstances, I'm not gonna lie to you. But regardless, this was the first time I did the surgeries and I felt like I had peace. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't anxious about it. I was just getting it done. I was just like, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna just show up and do my best. And it's funny because I've said that all this year, right? Oh, I just gotta try my best. I just gotta try my best. But it wasn't really actualized until A, I started seeing, okay, I am literally the result of all of this change I'm seeing in my life. B, what would it look like if I started to kind of rebound and go backwards just because I'm doubting myself? And what would it look like if I really just let the devil win? All of these things combined are leading to like this more confident and intentional version of myself that I'm really excited to bring into this new year. And it's just on time because of the new year. So those are my updates from this last month. Let's end with some goals for the next month. I'm actually tying that directly into that last point. I want to work on recognizing how the growth that I'm seeing is correlated with what I'm doing, the changes that I'm making, right? And so whether that's this apartment, whether that's my engagement, whether that's my science moving forward, all these different things that are happening simultaneously in my life, how can I see that I'm the one that's contributing to that change? It's not simply just because. It's because I wanted it to change. So how can I contribute to that? My next point is actually related to kind of setting up the systems in lab, but more so setting myself up for research success, in particular taking a mental rest and actually respecting that mental rest. So, you know, Christmas is coming up, New Year's, all these holidays and days off and whatnot. And though I do have some days that I plan to work during those holiday weeks or whatever you want to say, I'm also being very serious and intentional about making sure I take a mental rest, because I know that whenever I take a mental rest, I'm able to show up in the lab better, stronger, more well-rested, able to think, all of those great attributes that just come with stepping away from work, having new ideas. And even when I'm gone from work, I end up still having ideas that I then apply whenever I return, right? So that's a really big thing that I'm looking forward to in this next month. And then my vision board workshop, like I mentioned. So like I said, I'm like taking it up a notch. I'm doing like a 3-part vision board workshop series, which is gonna be so exciting. And I'm trying some new systems. I'm gonna try to make it less structured, because the more structure I give to things, the more stressed I tend to be. So I need to start just going for it, for lack of a better term, and see how it goes. Because honestly, whenever I show up as myself authentically, which is half of this video for today, I end up having more of a reward from that than trying to make some structured thing for people to listen to and follow. I feel like people can tell when I'm reading bullet points or a script. I don't like to script for that very reason. I don't like to follow scripts for that very reason, because I feel like it just turns me into a robot. And then I'm thinking too much about the script and staying on the script and all those different things. So anyways, vision board workshop. I'm hoping that is going to be a successful workshop. I already know it's going to be a successful workshop because last year was great. So this year is going to be even better. Okay. Right. And one last thing. So one of the best parts I think about this series is going to be this Q&A that I put at the end. And so I had a question on my last video, and so I'm going to talk about it today. But if you have any questions, if you want to talk about whatever is going on with you, if you're in the lab, if you're in the workforce, if you're having similar issues, if you're just having it in a different way, it's manifesting differently for you, leave those questions in the comment section. We can talk about it either in the comment section or in the next video. But this person in particular asked, can I discuss how I strategized something that seems so intimidating? And so that was in reference to In the last video, I talked about this new experiment that I did called RNA Scope. It's a very long experiment. It normally takes the entirety of the day. It's pretty challenging. You really want to stick to the protocol as the protocol says. And it's intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, especially whenever you're doing something new for the first time. And so to that notion, I do actually want to say that this last week, I actually ran that same experiment again, and it worked successfully. It was beautiful, actually. And accidentally, I actually made this science art that I'm gonna put on the screen that came from that. So see how this goes, because I feel like I might start making more of these little artsy things. It's really fun. But can I talk about how I strategize that? So when it comes to this experiment in particular, a lot of it is about like being familiar with the protocol and being familiar with what everything means, right? So in this particular protocol, like there's all these different steps. They're very meticulous. There's all these different parts and pieces that are moving and shaking at the same time. And I found that what was most helpful in me feeling confident as I stepped into that was being able to explain it to someone. Literally sitting down and being like, okay, this part connects to this part, and that's why this part works here, and it works with this channel and that channel because this, that, and the third. And that is when I really felt like I was confident and able to do something. And that's when it felt like it was less intimidating. I'm not gonna say the first and second times I ran it that I wasn't nervous and I wasn't a little bit like, but I tried. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that all you can do is try. And not everything is gonna go wonderfully. Not everything is gonna be perfect. Not everything is gonna work the first time around. All you can really do is strategize so that you can be successful, right? So one example that I'll give for this, and then I'll close the video. Whenever I talk to people about setting a new habit, making a new habit, I always say to set that habit, that goal for that habit, underneath where you actually wanna be. Because it's so easy to say like, oh, I wanna start going to the gym and I wanna go to the gym 4 days a week. Of course. And then when you don't hit that 4 days, you hit 1 or 2 days, you'll say, oh, well, I didn't reach my goal. You'll instead ruminate on the negative of not reaching that goal whenever you went from 0 to 2, right? Instead of 0 to 4, which was the original goal that you set. And so that's another thing that I highly suggest is whenever you're setting goals, whenever you're trying to make a new habit, try to set it underneath where you ideally want to be. You need to work up to it. You can't just up and say, oh, I'm gonna stop doing this. Oh, I'm gonna start going to the gym every day. Because that's overwhelming. And it becomes more intimidating because now you put this pressure on yourself of, oh, I didn't go to the gym today. Oh, I told myself I was gonna go to the gym every day. Oh, I'm not following through on my things. Oh, I'm just gonna give up. That's normally what ends up happening, is you just rebound because you get so overwhelmed with, oh, I didn't, that you end up just falling back to the old habit or falling back to the old thing that you were doing. I hope that that answers that question from this particular individual, and I appreciate the question. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave that in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with all the things that I'm doing, my whereabouts, how things are going. I'm really excited to continue this series as we enter into this new year, and I hope that I can bring you along on this journey because I know personally something big is coming for me. I know it for a fact. And it's a matter of consistency and continuing to show up for myself. And once I show the universe, God, whatever entity, again, you want to say, that I am ready for this, that I am wanting this transition, that I'm wanting this change, that is when it will come. And I know that for a fact. It was nice having you. If you made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. And I hope to catch you next time. Bye-bye.